It's another episode of Ion Franchising, and in case you have not heard the news, after 4 years, Ion Franchising has a name change coming. It's all about franchise fit, so that's what the team and I came up with. Franchise Fit Podcast is the new name. I'm excited, celebrating 4 years, talking to great founders, presidents, CEOs of brands, and amazingly successful franchisees. Now today, we're going to get real for a second because we're going to talk about fake grass. Can you believe it? Fake grass, real cash.
Up next.
I love this story. I tell people all the time, the riches are in the niches. And boy, is it much better when you're in the niche essentially by yourself. You just reminded me, fake boobs and fake turf have a lot in common apparently. They're right out front. Everybody's going to notice.
You know, I'm a big fan of second chances, and that crew that left me on the job site is now one of our go-to crews. So, you know, you never know what's going to happen, which keeps all this stuff fun.
This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. The founders of Waterloo Turf, Tim Lovett and Lance Ingram. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Lance.
What's going on? Yeah, thanks for having us.
I am excited to have you guys. So, are we reaching a point where fake grass is truly the new normal?
I would say
we think so.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, you go to grocery stores these days, most of the parks that your kids are going to play at, schools, and then friends' backyards, it's just starting to become more and more the norm, which, I mean, obviously for us, that's cool to see.
Tim, your thoughts?
I think you see that, and also governments are choosing to go the way of artificial turf and synthetic grass as well. There's water conservation legislation happening in many municipalities across the country, forcing homeowners and communities to switch away from natural grass.
In Las Vegas, where I live, there are definitely incentives from the water district due to a shortage of water. And we switched out a couple of years ago, and it was a bitch trying to find an appropriate company, and a lot of mom and pops, and we didn't know who to trust, and nobody with really any great online reviews. So here you are. Talk about your success let's get right to the numbers, and then we're going to work backwards, because people are leaning in like, all right, this is interesting. This is a great niche. And actually, before we get to numbers, let's get to a logical question. How many other turf franchises, artificial turf franchises like you guys, are there out there?
None. So we would be the only national artificial turf brand. What we have found, and one of the reasons why I got so excited about the artificial turf industry, is that we're primarily competing against local mom and pop landscapers, like you said. There's a couple of regional competitors within the artificial turf space, and at most, there's usually kind of these one location artificial turf shops that have popped up in a few different cities across the country. But it's a wide open trade, and we really see that there's a lot of room for somebody like us to come in and bring a lot of professionalization, not only to the customer experience, the install quality, but also the branding that customers can experience while they're coming through our process.
Yeah, and this is a low-cost investment. You're talking $106,000 or so to launch this, and you're doing $1 million. Several of your locations are over $1 million in revenue and great profitability. So talk a little bit about the numbers, and then we'll work backwards into the model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so our Austin location, Lance started in 2021. And within our FDD and our item 19, we disclosed the full P&L for 2024 for the Austin location. And so Austin did about $1.3 million in revenue at a 15.6% net. And Lance also had a full-time employee in that. I think the really unique thing about Waterloo Turf, and the reason why I liked it so much, is Lance had just started Waterloo Turf San Antonio in January of 2024. So we disclosed that first 12 months of the P&L on our FDD as well. And so for anybody looking to start a Waterloo Turf business, you can actually see, hey, what does it look like in your first 12 months, not just what does this business look like in a couple of years with Austin. And so the San Antonio location did $800K of revenue at a 15.8% net, again, with a full-time employee. If somebody was looking at it as an owner-operator, they'd be landing closer to about 23 or 24% if you add back that salary.
Amazing. There are so many people that talk to me because I'm a franchise broker. I represent hundreds of brands, and people always worry about how quickly can I get to $1 million. I mean, the smart people, that's, some people just don't know it all, and they ask, well, what is good? And then you work backwards to figure out, well, what are the margins and things like that. So this is pretty amazing. So where the heck did this idea come from? How did you guys get into this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly long story, so long story short, but I actually had helped start a separate turf company when I graduated from Baylor in 2016, and I didn't know anything about the turf world. I'd never been in it. The only thing I really knew about it was playing on it in high school sports and whatnot. So helped start a separate turf company in 2016, and after about 3 years, I just kind of had a pull to go into the corporate world. I saw a bunch of my friends at the time traveling to cool spots for different conferences and things of that nature, and it looked fun, it looked appealing to me. So I sold off the ownership that I had in the previous company, went into medical device. I never thought I'd get back into turf. It wasn't like this master plan of I'm going to leave, I'm going to come back. It was like, that was a good chapter in my life, let's go do something else. And after about 1.5 years, 2 years in medical, I realized it's a lot more fun to be your own boss. It's a lot more fun to not have to be in the operating room with doctors or whatever the case might be. And so I ended up, the same month, me and my wife were getting married in 2021. I quit my medical device job. I went all in on Waterloo Turf, and like Timmy said, ran it solo for a few years, and then 2024 expanded out to San Antonio. And then shortly after that, about 5 months or so after launching San Antonio, the systems that had been started in Austin were already becoming validated in our San Antonio market, to where I was fairly hands off, and I just continued to have this desire to want to grow and expand Waterloo again. And so I was trying to figure out which vehicle to do that through, whether continue to do it corporately like I did with San Antonio, or to move it through a franchising route, which I didn't really know too much about besides like the McDonald's of the world. I had kind of started to learn a little bit through a friend who had recently franchised this company, but me and my wife joined a small group through our church. Timmy and his wife happened to be in it, and after getting to know each other for a couple months, we were just chatting one day, and he was asking what I do for work. I told him I own a turf company. I'm trying to expand it currently, and he was like, "That's crazy, because I'm in franchising and I've been looking for a turf company for a couple of years now." And so that was kind of just like a very, in our opinion, God-ordained conversation, and the doors just continued to open up as the conversations continued, and it's ultimately led us to being on your podcast.
Tim, why were you looking at an artificial turf concept?
So I was an operations executive at a home service franchise platform. And so I was running the corporate locations there, the brand marketing, the launching, the training, a lot of things going on outside of signing on new franchisees. And as I was in these trades, one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of franchisees who were successful in other systems, a lot of times they were just a part of the first national brand of whatever that given trade was. They were able to take a lot of their own market before other competitors started to move in. And so I started looking at industries within home services that didn't have a national brand and weren't professionalized, and I came across artificial turf. And as I started reaching out, talking to different business owners in the artificial turf space, heard how well they were doing, it just really piqued my interest even more. And that's when I went all in on looking for an artificial turf business to franchise. There is no national competitor. It's a wide open market.
I love this story. I tell people all the time, the riches are in the niches. And boy, is it much better when you're in the niche essentially by yourself and you're not with 30 other painting franchises or restoration brands or anybody else. So I applaud that specificity and that targeted approach. And obviously your franchisees will be, certainly more successful because they've joined your system. Talk a little bit about the success you've had early on. You started franchising officially when?
It was just about 9 months ago, so December of 2024.
And give us your report card on that, your self-evaluation.
It's gone really well. I think Lance and I have been really excited about not only just where the system is and our own internal support team, but also just the franchisees that have come on. I think when Lance especially, you're going out and franchising this brand. Well, who's going to join? What are these people going to be like? Are they going to take this seriously just as well as I've taken my location seriously? We've been really excited about who's joined the brand. They've all been really great fits. They've all been in different markets, whether it's here in Texas, more on the East Coast, or more in a colder weather climate. And it's been fun to see these guys really take the bull by the horns and go and dominate their local market for artificial turf.
So I'm assuming you're going to tell us who you're looking for and who is the ideal franchise fit. However, let's start with the fun side of it. How many people have you turned down where you guys look at each other like, hell no, we're not letting that person in the brand?
I think there's been quite a few. So one thing that's a little bit, I think, different about our system is that before we went to go franchise, we raised growth capital. And so we raised 7 figures of growth capital. The reason why I did that is, number one, Lance and I, we wanted to forward invest in our support and infrastructure so that when franchisees came on, it was already there for them. It wasn't a kind of this system where you come on and then we build it as we grow. We wanted it to be there from day one for the first franchisee. The second reason why we raised the capital is we didn't want to be in the position where we had to take a franchise owner who we knew would not be a good fit for our system. And so it has given us some flexibility to really dial in and decide who is a good fit, and also have a lot of opportunity to be able to let people know who aren't a good fit. Hey, maybe you should look for something different or a different industry or, potentially just a different brand.
I know you have to say something, Lance. You're definitely going to add.
As who we're looking for, or turning people away?
Both.
I mean,
both. I want to
Yeah.
hear. I want to hear an example without naming names. Think of one person that you turned away and why, because there's a lot of people listening to this that
Yeah.
somehow think that as long as they have the money and they want to join the brand, they're allowed in, and that's bullshit. I mean, the reality is that franchising in a great system and a great brand is a two-way street. You have to be happy with them, and they have to be happy with you. So I'm just curious, one person, give an example of why you turned them down.
Yeah, I mean, when we formed this new business, the number one thing for us is franchisee profitability, and we truly mean that. We believe that. There's multiple things that we've done to reinforce that, but when it comes to looking at a potential franchisee, it is a little bit of a two-way street where we want someone that is a grinder, that wants to go all in on this, because then we can help them, we can support them, we can get them to where they want to go. But if you're coming in just to look for mailbox money and not necessarily put the time in or be fully involved, it's hard for us to go all in on you when you're not going to go all in on yourself. So that's a big thing for us.
Great. So what are those qualities that you're specifically looking for? As you just said, you're looking for a grinder. It's okay, though, if they're maybe not going to be full-time, but they have a plan in mind.
Yep.
Where they're going to hire people or hire a relative or put their son or daughter in place. Talk a little bit about that owner-operator thought process versus semi-absentee.
Yeah, so 70% of our system currently is owner-operators and 30% runs what we call a GM model. And so to us, if it's your first-time business or if you're somebody who really wants to grow something big for the first time, we want to see you come in as an owner-operator and, like Lance said, make the bet on yourself and see if you really can take this. If you already have an existing business and you're looking for another business to add into your portfolio, maybe you've already got a GM on another team that you just want to put into his own wheelhouse where he can just go ahead and just drive another vehicle for you. That's the type of people that we like to be owner-operators. So we do have, GM models for us, more of that semi-absentee. And so an example of one of our GM models is somebody who owns an auto shop portfolio that does $50 million in revenue. And so that individual is not going to go do estimates and project managing. He's got people that he can put in and run the day-to-day on Waterloo Turf. So we got comfortable with that. But for the owner-operator, certainly we are looking for somebody who wants to go all in on themselves, because this is a big industry and a business that you can build to be really big.
Wonderful. Talk about profitability. You guys, Lance, you touched on that. So Lance and Tim, what are you really doing? Is it weekly follow-up calls with new franchisees, monthly calls looking at P&Ls? What are you doing to focus and really help them with profitability?
Yeah, our support system is pretty robust, I think, for the size that we're at right now, because we were able to hire out that team and put the infrastructure in place through the round that we raised. And so there's quite a few things that we'll do with the franchise owner to help them not only get to revenue quickly, but also get to profitability quickly, if they're willing to put in the effort. So what we do on our side, when somebody comes on, we give them access to our full operations manual. It's over 50 hours at this point of video and written SOP content on the artificial turf industry. They'll start to meet with a turf coach on our team. And so the turf coach is a lot like a franchise business coach in a different system. However, for us, the turf coach is somebody who comes from artificial turf. They've either owned a turf company in the past and have actually exited it and are kind of in the next period of their career where they want to give back to the turf industry, or they were the number 2 at a different turf company in another market. We recruited them to come coach our franchise owners. And so they'll meet with turf coaches weekly, going over estimates, installs, selling turf. We'll have them come out to Austin for 4-day in-person training where we will not only get hands-on with turf, but we will teach them about financials, P&Ls, operations. How do you run a profitable turf company? What are the key KPIs and metrics that you should be looking at on a daily basis as the business owner? And then they'll go and they'll start to launch their business. We'll then go out to their market for opening support. We will send our team, and we'll go and give them hands-on help and hands-on coaching, tactically finding the things that will improve not only their sales, but also their profitability. And then as franchise owners are launched, they'll continue to meet weekly with their turf coach, and we will do a monthly strategy call with each of our franchise owners where we will look at the P&L, and we will give them suggestions from other owners within the system and give them some ideas on how they can improve their unit level profitability.
That's all great stuff. Talk about marketing a little bit and customer acquisition. I would imagine there's an education. Education is part of this process because a lot of people might not understand turf, what it involves, how long the process is, ripping out your grass that you were so attached to for years. Everybody wants a green grass. We love our green grass. It just never changes colors, which is fantastic. And there's no maintenance to it, really. So talk a little bit about that educational system, if you will, and how you help market to get people leads as well.
I can speak on the turf side of things, and Timmy can jump in on the marketing side. But yeah, I mean, it all starts with our trainual. It's 50 hours of just pure turf knowledge that's been put together from A to Z, everything you need to know from all things turf to all things sales, the way that we go about our system. So, we've really dialed things in, especially from 2021 to where we are now. Back in the day, I was dragging a tape measure and a notepad around the backyard, getting my estimates. And now, that would take me 45 to an hour and a half just to do the measuring. And now we've got it to the point where we can not only knock out the measurements, but actually send the proposal to the client start to finish within 5 to 7 minutes. So, I mean, we've kind of changed the game even just internally for our business to where we're not spending so much time on the site taking measurements. We're actually dreaming with the clients. We're getting to know them. We're building relationship. And, the 3 guys that I've hired, both in Austin and in San Antonio had no prior turf experience. They didn't come from any type of turf background. They were fly fishing guys. They, that's really it. And so they all picked up turf quickly and are crushing it on sales. They took to the systems really fast, and it's been really cool to watch them grow and sell some turf.
Tim?
Yeah, and I think on the marketing side, one of the things that's really unique about turf versus other home services, turf has a network effect to it. And so we always give the example, Lance, if you were to get new gutters, none of your friends are going to comment on how great they are. But when you go and get an artificial turf backyard, maybe you've got a putting green in the back and you've got, everybody out there. Oh my gosh, Lance, this is so great. Who did this for you? Oh, Waterloo Turf did it. Here's his number. They did such a great job. It got knocked out in 2 days. It was easy.
You
So
just
we
reminded me, fake boobs and fake turf have a lot in common, apparently. They're right out front. Everybody's going to notice.
we get a lot of referrals, Lance. I'll leave it at that. We get a lot of referrals from past jobs. And so
Yeah.
we just actually, Lance just had a job the other week where he did a job for a customer 2 years ago and got a referral off of that job. And so because turf lasts 15 years and it's such a stark difference, it's just a really unique home services. And so for that reason, I want to be the number one spender on content in artificial turf, because the more people that see artificial turf, the more people that want it. And so we have put together our own marketing and in-house content team for not only us at the national level, but also for our franchise owners to utilize to help market their local businesses.
So what's with the discount for NCAA athletes?
Yeah, so this was my idea, Lance, and I was a former NCAA athlete myself. I'm washed up, and I felt like I didn't really get my bang for my buck out of it. I was a defensive end and outside linebacker, Division III. So most people's sons in high school probably would have beat up on me even in my best days. But I felt like nobody gives back to us washed up NCAA athletes, and here was my opportunity to do it. And so that's primarily why we decided to do the NCAA discount. But I think the other thing that we have found is that a lot of our franchise owners actually are ex-NCAA athletes. They get turf. They've been on it. They like it. They also are great fits for the operations. And so we talk a lot internally about how to live this business and work this business just like it's Groundhog's Day. You've got to work the fundamentals. You've got to work the small things that make big improvements to your business, but you've got to do it every single day. And we believe that athletes, along with military veterans, are really great at just running systems on a day-to-day basis.
So you hear that, NCAA athletes? You get a discount on your franchise fee. Consider Waterloo Turf. So Lance, I want to hear the story. What happened to you? They left you on a job site, and then you ended up finishing the job yourself? I mean, what happened?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Part of part of having
Were you hiding?
No, it was just one of those things. I was trying out a new crew. We're always in the process of interviewing new crews because you never know when you're going to need another crew, and you don't want to be leveraged by the one crew that you do have. So I was in the process of trying another crew, and this was back in the day before I really had multiple crews that I could reach out to. And essentially, yeah, they said they were going to their truck to grab a hammer. Next thing I know, tires are screeching and they're gone. And I thankfully had been around turf quite a bit at this point to where I knew how to finish this job. I went to Home Depot, I got the supplies I needed, and finished it up. And the client had no idea that the crew had left the job site. But things come full circle. A few years go by. I'm a big fan of second chances, and that crew that left me on the job site is now one of our go-to crews. So, you never know what's going to happen, which keeps all this stuff fun.
That's a great story. So talk a little bit about the uniqueness of some of the jobs, because people listening, I'm sure you're doing residential. Eventually, you're going to have franchisees, of course, doing commercial. Residential is always easier to start with. You could talk a little bit about that, and also give me a story about a unique turf job that you did. I'm sure you do a lot of putting greens.
Yeah, we do a lot of putting greens. Became super popular after COVID because I think everybody became a golfer during COVID. But residential it's a great way to find your bread and butter when you're starting, because like Timmy was saying, turf's going to be noticed. That's a double-edged sword. We focus on doing high quality turf installs, so we hope that the work that gets noticed by friends that want to get quotes is because they saw high quality work and they want the same thing done in their backyard. The commercial side, though, it kind of comes hand in hand. It's those aren't typically going to be the leads that hit your inbox from Google Ads or Home Advisor or Thumbtack or whatever the case might be, but those are a little bit more ones that you have to go seek out. But they're easily attainable. They're typically bigger jobs, and they help boost your business and your bottom line or whatever the case is. So we focus on both ends of the spectrum, both in my businesses, and then when we speak to franchisees, we highly encourage they be swinging by offices and starting to build relationships within their community. As far as interesting turf jobs go, Man, there's been so many over the years. We do a lot of putting greens, like you said. So we get some customers that want some pretty crazy putting greens I call it circus golf. I'm like, I sometimes try to steer them out of it because I'm like, I know this sounds cool right now, but I promise you in 3 months when you want to just come out and work on your 7-foot putt that you can't make when you're at the actual course with your buddies, you're going to wish you had something that was just straight and you could actually practice. So that's a conversation I have with people quite often. But, no turf job is the same, but at the same time, the systems that go into every turf job are fairly identical. And it's a really cool thing. For me, I still get excited being able to show up to a job, see the before, see everything that this client wants to change about their yard and the reasons why they called us out for an estimate. And then we call it the move that bus moment at the end of the job from that TLC show, I believe, back in the day. And it's whenever we get to invite the family out, turf is completely installed, and you just see the joy, you see the excitement, and the full transformation that's taken place in just a matter of day or days. So I've seen thousands of installs at this point, and I still get excited about that.
Well, you both have been awesome guests. Final thoughts from both of you. Talk to the first-time business owners looking to either start their own, maybe they're looking at acquisitions for the last 30 years and can't find anything. Talk about the franchise space and what they should be looking for. Give them some advice. Tim, you first. Lance, you can have the final word.
I think there's a lot of great franchise systems out there, and I think right now in particular is a really great time to franchise. Like you said, Lance, there's a lot of competition for people going out and looking for small businesses to go and acquire. Interest rates are really high. And then if you go and start, you might not have all of the learnings that you would get if you did go acquire a business. And so to me, franchising is this unique opportunity where you get to go start a business and you get to instill your own culture from day one while having the systems and support that you might get from a brand, or if you went to go acquire a business that already had SOPs in place.
Excellent. Lance, final word.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And on a second note, again, you don't, like, speaking for Waterloo, you don't have to have turf background to become a Waterloo Turf franchisee. No one in the system did, I guess, other than me on my second go-around. So,
but you might need fly fishing experience.
You might need that. It could definitely help. So I would say, don't shy away from something just because you're obviously not familiar with it. And I'd say be prayerful. That's always my advice, whether it's internally or whoever, is just be prayerful about it. Make sure you've got the piece that you're looking for when you go into something, and be willing to go all in on it.
Awesome. Lance, Tim, Waterloo Turf, amazing brand. Love what you guys are doing, and I'll see you next week in Phoenix. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks, Lance.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.